Welcome back to Agenda Kenya with me, Jason Nyantino. Tonight we are focusing on the next general election. How do we make it free, fair, and peaceful? Betty, we are talking about participation of women in politics. I know it's been over 40 years since we had the first woman being elected to parliament. But I think it's Grace Onyango in Kisumu. Why has it been so difficult?
Well, partly I think it's a cultural thing. And then it's the way we frame issues in this country. I think we're poised now to reframe this issue a little differently. And the opportunity we have now is that we have the new constitution that allows us to look at questions of inequality and discrimination against women that have existed throughout time. We know in some of our communities, women have been held in very high regard, but they were not necessarily seen as people who could go out there and represent the society or the community or the constituency. But things have changed. I think some of the arguments we're using are self-defeating, and they have been used over time to discourage women from running political office. Luckily now, you will actually have to elect women if we want to have the Houses of Parliament, sitting come March 2013. And I see the questioner is actually smiling at me because it is true. So it would have to be everybody working together to ensure whether it is an attitude problem that we have, whether it is a question in our minds, whether women can be competent. We need to ask ourselves, what is the value add of having that woman representative?
There's one thing I want to know. When you say cultural issues around, bottlenecks for women in politics, what do you mean? I mean, let's get into a home setting now.
Yes, well,
a woman wants to run for a seat. What happens there? Is she stopped by the husband, or what happens? I want to understand this.
The problems have been legend. In fact, in some of the places where we have gone to do civic education, the women don't even keep their identity cards. And the reason that their spouses, their husbands, are the keepers of their ID cards. So that becomes very problematic. If women lose agency in such a situation, of course the situation has changed. So like Jennifer said, it has to start in the home, in the community, before we move on to the national scene and so on. But it's a question, like you said, Jennifer, about patriarchy and the system of privilege that male people have enjoyed, and they don't want to give it up. We have said that before.
They say power is sweet. Maybe they want to cling on to power. Let's get to hear the audience about women and participation in politics. And it'll be very interesting to hear a lady first. The lady second, last row.
I have seen the problem is that, one, women between ages 18 up to 26, they don't have ID cards. And when they go for those ID cards, it's one challenge that we have faced on the ground, because I'm a common woman from the ground. They're not getting those IDs. Because the things you are asked for, your father's ID, your mother's ID, whether you went to school, a living certificate, some of them do not have those things. What are we going to do? Even if they wanted to elect a woman, they cannot do it. It's a challenge. Another issue is funding. We've just been informed that the IEBC is asking for 50,000 for registration. If you are contesting as a woman representative, that is what is alleged. And the political parties also have their figures. The women do not have this kind of money in the first instance. So that is another one big challenge that is facing women on the ground.
Thank you, thank you. Maybe another comment from this side now. Gentleman on the second row. Your name, please.
Okay, my name is Anthony Thukundongo, and I want to contribute first by saying that this issue about gender is becoming a sensitive issue in Kenya and raising some queries somewhere, whereby I can ask a question, where should it begin? Because you're seeing the girl child being empowered at the expense of the boy child. And at the end of the day, we come to a particular problem whereby we see women who are empowered But at the end of the day, where would they be married? Would they be married to these unempowered men?
Okay.
So,
thank you, Anthony, for that insightful question. Now we will move the debate to Gladys. You can respond to any of this, especially her question, our sister's question about women not being able to access identity cards. I think that's a serious problem.
I think that's a very valid question asked, and I do remember having that experience. As you know, I previously was Deputy CEO at the Electoral Commission, and it's one of the challenges we had. But at that time, because we got requests from people like you, we were able to engage with the Minister for Immigration, Honorable Kajwang, and at that time, they stepped up the registration of persons. They even began to go into the coffee farms, because women even didn't have time to go to the registration center. So it's simple solutions like engaging that ministry. They went and started registering women in the coffee farms, in the markets, everywhere. So the IEBC can actually work hand in hand with the ministry. And another way also is at that time, because we realized many women had the old identity cards, you know, the first generation identity cards, just with engagement with the minister, he was able to re-gazette back those identity cards for the purpose and use of the time of the election. Okay. So it is possible for people like Jennifer under the Tuvuke initiative to engage with the minister to begin the process of registration. Okay. But it starts with yourselves saying that we have a challenge on this point.
Okay, before Jennifer responds, I want to take it to Louise. How can women participate, you know, on a stronger front in terms of politics and the electoral process? And what has worked in other countries from your experience?
What we see is that democracy isn't something that happens overnight. Democracy, a constitution, is a living document, and it grows over time. The implementation of this new constitution, this new basic document for the country, is going to take more than between now and March. Yes. You will live that document. You will learn that document. We see this everywhere in the world, Jason. And what will happen is we'll understand that there are voter ID card questions. We'll understand that there are candidate funding questions. Other laws will emerge. Other pathways will emerge. And it is central that Kenyans give this constitution time, that you enter the process not with the cynicism and hopelessness, but with the optimism of knowing that if you can get through this election fairly, freely, and peacefully, that you'll have 4 more years to refine it, to make it better, and then 4 after that, and 4 after that. And that these things, these constitutions, grow. We have to let it live.
How, in the US, for instance, how have women been involved in the political process? What are the avenues for them?
Well, this is a very good example. In our own constitution, in its birth moment, women didn't have the right to vote. In fact, people of African descent held in slavery weren't even counted fully as human beings. That constitution grew, and that constitution changed. Our constitution currently doesn't differentiate men from women. In those ways, the Kenyan constitution has many more protections for women than even our own constitution in the United States. You're starting off with an extraordinary base. The question is, can you give it the time it takes to begin to answer some of these questions, these thoughtful questions from the audience? It won't be in March. It will be over time if March goes well.
Louise, why is Ford Foundation particularly interested in supporting women and participating in the political process in Kenya?
What we find is that political inclusion creates social stability, and that social stability drives economic progress. If we want a country to prosper, if we want people to have the benefit of their land, the benefit of their culture, the benefit of everything, the fruits of citizenship, all people have to be included in that process.
Okay. Jennifer, there were two questions. I want you to start with the girl child versus the boy child. Have we lost it? Then still the issue of funding. You need to tell us, how are women going to access? Is there a slush fund for them? What is the way out?
I do not think that the gender question refers to supporting girls only or boys only. It refers to 2 of them.
But the focus has been mainly on the girl.
The focus has been on the girls because the girls have been more disadvantaged. Let me tell you, in times of strife, girls and women suffer atrocities most. In 2007, 2008, Those are the ones that got raped. Those are the ones that got displaced. And who are displacing them? Our brothers, our fathers, our sisters. So I think you need to realize that. So there is need to empower them. And I want to quickly say, go back to the question that was raised, a very important question on the young women not voting. I'm very, Tuvuka is very serious about that because it is true. The young women, 18 to 25, don't vote, don't look for votes. The reasons yet have to be established. But what is Tuvuka doing? Tuvuka is engaging social media, that is Facebook, the blog, and Twitter, to make sure we reach the youth, both boys, young men, and young women. So, and that's so critical for us. And we must do that because we want to bring them in.
What is the response like? How
The response is good. Yeah. The response is good. On the Twitter, right now, about 5,000 are twittering on daily basis. And on issues related to peace, on issues related to voting right now. And it's very encouraging. On the women, on the older women not participating, there has been a very serious problem of lack of visibility. Women are not visible. You hear people saying, where are they? And what Tuvuka is doing is profiling women in the 4 media mainstream papers. The 4 papers that has an outreach of 1 million readers on daily basis. That way, we are bringing women up front. Now, on terms of funding, and I'm speaking very rapidly on this, on terms of funding, we don't have a pot full of money. What we are doing as Tuvuka is to engage the political parties themselves and to educate them in terms of what is the Constitution providing. The Constitution is saying, look for money, support women.
Okay.
That one is very clear in the Constitution.
Thank you, Jennifer. We need to get some impromptu contributions from the audience, especially on women and political participation. There's a gentleman, second last row. Your name, please.
David Odera from Nairobi. Yeah, in fact, I just want to comment on women participation in politics. I think the politics in Kenya has been highly commercialized and making it to look a very lucrative career. And this is attracting more men than women because of the kind of a pressure that men can stand than women. And this is also making women not to participate effectively. If they can design and reduce, because everybody wants to go for it. You see what they are moving around with, Range Rover, Prado, and what. While women, because of their gullibility, this one sometimes hinders them to go there. So men end up that, let us compete for this.
Okay. Thank you, Odera. One more from my right now. Gentleman, second last row in a tie. Your name, please?
Meshach Simba. It's the right time now for the women to wake up or stand firm, as in to show people that they exist, you get. We are in a different centuries, whereby some years ago or some other centuries ago, women were there to be seen, but not to be heard. Like a Form 1, you get somebody has just joined a Form 1. You are there to be seen, but not to be heard. This is the right time for women to wake up. Don't let somebody show you that that's the door. Already you are seeing the door and waiting for somebody to give you back up. Who will give you back up? There's nobody who will give you back up. It's you and you to start moving from one step to another. Me, all what I can say about the women, they are our mothers. I do respect them a lot. Change starts with me. Charity begins at home. How do I associate with my sisters? Which kind of respect do I give to them? Then the whole world will see how to start or how to end.
Thank you very much. Very insightful comments. Time for a break now. And if you're watching us, you can join this conversation by responding to this question. Do you think Kenya will have a free, fair and peaceful election in March 2013? Text your answer to the number on your screen. Give us your name and location. You can also give us a brief comment on why you think it's a no or why you think it's a yes. We are back in a moment.